In the aftermath of that shooting that just happened over my shoulder, it's become clear in the last few days that something is shifting, not just here in Minnesota, but across the country. And when the record of this era is written down, what has happened here is likely to play some decisive role in what kind of country we have on the other side of all this. What happened here in Minneapolis over the last few weeks, as is so often the case in history, is tragic. A masked man took the life of a 37-year-old mother of three and poet, Renee Good. She was shot to death at point-blank range by an agent of her own government, and then this weekend took the life of Alex Preddy, also 37, an ICU nurse who was shot repeatedly by agents of his own government in the back as he was prone on the ground. Good and Preddy knew there was risk in what they were doing. They knew it. I mean, certainly Alex Preddy did 2 weeks after Renee Good was shot, but they did it anyway, and they died protecting their neighbors. I think their names are going to be in the ledger of this country's most elemental struggles. Decades from now, people will know their names, they will be known and celebrated, there will be memorials to them, and they will rightly be remembered as martyred to our union. But what's remarkable is that they are just two out of hundreds, thousands, maybe even tens of thousands of ordinary people who have mobilized in this moment, clear-eyed about the risks, which could not be clearer, to stand shoulder and shoulder with their neighbors and protect them against the predations of their own government, which is supposed to protect them. It is clear, just in the day that I've been here, these are not just protests. This is a standoff. And here's the thing, and probably it seems to be working. The Trump administration is desperately backpedaling as the backlash against what we have seen on these streets grows far beyond this city and cable news channels. The Border Patrol commander in charge, Greg Bovino, is now out. He's headed home to California along with many of his agents. A new border czar has arrived, Tom Homan, who's here now, apparently the grown-up sent in by Trump, who said the words tonight, "We're going to de-escalate a little bit."
You know, Bovino is very good, but he's a pretty out there kind of a guy. And in some cases, that's good. Maybe it wasn't good here. And that's all working out. You know, we have Tom Homan there now. We put him in there. He's great. And they met with the governor, the mayor, everybody else. And we're going to de-escalate a little bit.
We're going to de-escalate a little bit. Does it mean anything? Is it a start? We hope it's a start. There's more to go. Democrats and even Republicans now on Capitol Hill are calling for investigations into DHS and to ICE and to the shooting of Alex Preddy, as Democrats consider a partial government shutdown to block ICE funding. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries told MS Now today that Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem needs to be fired or be impeached.
House Democrats have called for her to be fired immediately. And in the event that she is not terminated, we are prepared to initiate impeachment proceedings against her in the House of Representatives.
Now that's Hakeem Jeffries. But here's Republican Senator Tom Tillis tonight, quote, "I think what she's done in Minnesota should be disqualified. She should be out of a job. She needs to go." Again, all of this is happening because ordinary people have chosen to do something extraordinary. And ordinary people doing the extraordinary is the alchemy of democracy. It all comes down to that, right? The fate of the nation depends on it. And they're still standing up. There has been no break. We rode around today with some folks who were out looking for ICE. We're going to bring you that later. All of them absolutely crystal clear about the continuing danger. This afternoon, the Senator Reverend Raphael Warnock of Georgia, senator, also senior pastor at the Atlanta church, once led by Martin Luther King Jr., joined local faith leaders for a vigil right here at this site where Alex Preddy was killed. He spoke exclusively about this historic moment with MS Now's Alex Tabbitt.
You've mentioned that this is a moral moment. So obviously, to many people, we're at a key juncture right now. Is the country in a moral crisis?
Oh, absolutely. You look at that tape of Mr. Preddy being assaulted along with others and then murdered in broad daylight. We did not only witness the killing of a man, we are witnessing the spiraling spiritual death of a nation, and it's the people who will have to stand up and redeem the soul of our country.
As a senior pastor of the Ebenezer Church, can you talk to me about what role faith leaders have in the civil rights movement, not just historically, but right now?
Yeah. Well, in the case of the movement and in Minneapolis this moment, as you see these faith leaders of various faith traditions and those who claim no faith tradition at all, but are people of conscience standing up, it is literally soul force meeting brute force. I think of John Lewis, who I was honored to serve as pastor, crossing the Edmund Pettus Bridge with brute force under the color of law on the other side of that bridge. But he kept marching. And not only did he cross a bridge, he built the bridge into a new America. And every generation, I think, has a moment like that, and this is our moment.
As both a faith leader and an elected, just why is it so important for you to be right here today?
In a real sense, this is holy ground, consecrated by blood spilled here. The cost is high. And so I had to be here to stand in the very place where this tragedy unfurled, not only for Alex Preddy, but for Renee Good, for George Floyd. I think we're at a defining moment for our country as we look at those tragedies. And as we look at George Floyd on the one hand, Alex Preddy, Renee Good on the other, we need a multiracial coalition of conscience that's larger than politics. I think the partisan language of politics is too puny a vocabulary for what's facing us in this moment. There is a political exercise that we engage in. I'm going later today to vote. But this is a moral moment. The country's in a spiritual crisis. But I haven't lost hope. But part of what I refuse to do is to give in to those who are trying to flood the zone and weaponize despair. I said to the faith leaders gathered earlier today that the scripture reminds us that the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness overcometh it not. There is no question it's dark in America right now. Donald Trump has unleashed evil on our streets, but the light penetrates the darkness, and it falls on all of us to be that light.
Elliot Payne is the president of the Minneapolis City Council. He has been out and about almost nonstop over the last month. He joins me now. It's good to have you here.
Thanks for being here, Chris.
You know, I think the big question today, right? So Tom Homan came, Bavino left, meeting with Waltz, meeting with Mayor Jacob Fry, statements put out. The president saying we're going to de-escalate a bit. The big question is like, is this a feint? Is it real? Like, from your perspective, watching this, what is your read on this?
The message we've been sharing with our community is that we need to hold strong. I don't believe a word that comes out of this administration, whether that is their telling of Renee Good's murder, being that she was trying to ram the agent, or that Alex Preddy was brandishing a weapon. Nothing that they say can be believed, and so we need to continue being out on the streets every single day. That's evidenced by just this morning, we had 2 apprehensions in my ward.
Today by DHS officials.
By DHS officials. The Ecuadorian consulate, they tried to enter the consulate today. They were held back by...
Wait a second. DHS tried to enter the consulate?
The Ecuadorian consulate on Central Avenue in Minneapolis. That happened today. And we heard reports of somebody getting assaulted by DHS. So I think this might be a head fake because they may be shifting their tactics, but they have not shifted their policy. And as long as their policy is one of retribution against the city of Minneapolis, I think we all have to hold strong.
What would be the sign to you, right, of that it had shifted? I mean, like, to compare to Chicago, it's not that ICE isn't in Chicago and isn't that people are facing issues, but there really was a palpable difference. The number of agents, the kind of thing they were doing, the amount of tear gas they were using, it really did change when they, quote, left and ended Operation Midway Blitz. Like, what do you want to see happen?
I want to see justice. I want to see those agents that killed our residents held to account. I want to see indictments. I don't want to just see Kristi Noem impeached. I think she should be arrested and indicted. I mean, a level of profound injustice that's happened in our city is, I don't have words for it. And I think that anything less than every one of these people held to account is unacceptable. And I think that our city needs to see that. I think our country needs to see that.
Trump just found out he's been impeached, and his reaction? Pure chaos. But here's the thing nobody's talking about. This isn't just about Trump. This is about every single unqualified puppet he put in power coming back to haunt him. And what happened in the last few hours changes everything we thought we knew about how this administration operates. Because when you build your entire cabinet on loyalty instead of competence, when you surround yourself with people who exist only because you allow them to exist, eventually that house of cards collapses. And it's collapsing right now in real time. Let's get one thing straight right from the start. This impeachment vote that just happened, if you've been paying attention to the pattern, it's the inevitable result of what happens when you construct an administration not on merit, not on qualification, not on expertise, but purely on the premise of control and subservience. Trump didn't just make a few bad hiring decisions. That would be forgivable. That would be human error. No, what Trump did was intentional. He deliberately sought out people who had no business being in the positions they were placed in because their lack of qualifications served a purpose. It created a dynamic where these cabinet members, these department heads, these people running critical aspects of our government knew deep down that they weren't there because they earned it. They were there because Trump wanted them there. And that knowledge, that understanding that their entire position depended solely on Trump's whim was supposed to keep them in line. It was supposed to make them obedient. But here's what Trump didn't account for. When you fill your administration with people who are fundamentally unqualified, you're not just creating loyal servants. You're creating liabilities. You're creating vulnerabilities. You're creating a situation where every single decision they make can be questioned, can be challenged, can be used as evidence of incompetence or corruption or both. And that's exactly what we're seeing play out right now with this impeachment vote. The chickens have come home to roost. Now let's contrast this with Trump's first term, because the difference is critical to understanding why this impeachment is different from anything we've seen before. In his first administration, Trump did something he would later come to regret. He picked people who actually had credentials. Not all of them, but enough of them. People who had resumes that looked impressive on paper. People who had experience in government, in military, in business, at levels that suggested competence. And you know what happened? Those people cause him problems, constantly. Because when you hire someone who actually knows what they're doing, someone who has expertise in their field, someone who has a reputation to protect beyond just being Trump's loyalist, they develop something dangerous from Trump's perspective. They develop a backbone. They develop the ability to say no. They develop the confidence to push back and say, actually, Mr. President, that's not how this works. That's not legal. That's not advisable. That's not going to achieve what you want it to achieve. And Trump hated that. He absolutely despised being told he was wrong by people who knew better than him. So what did he do? He fired them, one after another, or they quit. They walked away because they couldn't stomach what Trump was asking them to do, or they saw the writing on the wall that their expertise wasn't valued, that their advice wasn't wanted, that they were just supposed to be yes men in fancy suits with impressive titles. By the end of Trump's first term, his cabinet looked like a revolving door. People were gone. The adults in the room, as they were often called, had left the building. And a lot of that exodus happened around January 6th, because that was the moment when even the semi-qualified people realized they couldn't defend what was happening anymore. So Trump learned a lesson from that first term. But it wasn't the lesson most people would learn. Most people would think, okay, I need to hire better people. I need to find people who are both loyal to me and good at their jobs. Trump learned the opposite lesson. He learned that qualification equals independence. He learned that expertise equals the ability to resist. He learned that if someone is actually good at what they do, they won't need him as much as he needs them to need him. and that's intolerable to someone like Trump. So this time around, he went in the complete opposite direction. He filled his cabinet with people whose only qualification is their loyalty to him. People who have no business running the departments they're running. People who don't understand the complexities of the jobs they've been given. People who will do whatever Trump tells them to do without question because they know they have no other currency. Their entire value, their entire reason for being in that position is Trump's favor, nothing else. And that's exactly what Trump wanted. He wanted a cabinet that functioned as extensions of himself, rather than as independent operators with their own authority and expertise.